The Star Wars galaxy is full of criminal elements. It has a huge underworld comprised of numerous gangs and syndicates, some of which have recently played a large part in Star Wars live action. However, during the Imperial era, 5 of these criminal organizations were considered to be among the most extremely dangerous and powerful. Collectively, these criminal organizations were colloquially referred to as the 5 Syndicates. These 5 syndicates had accrued the most power and influence over the galaxy, therefore putting them on par with the Empire. In fact, the Empire actually did business with these 5 syndicates, rather than take them out or target them. The criminal organizations that made up the 5 syndicates were the Hutt Cartel, Black Sun, Crimson Dawn, the Pyke Syndicate, and the Crymorah Syndicate. The Hutt Cartel, as the name suggests, was led by the Hutts. The Hutt Cartel was overseen by the Grand Hutt Council, which included Jabba the Hutt. This organization had actually been active for centuries before the Clone Wars, and had even then still been considered one of, if not the most, dangerous criminal organization in the galaxy. The Hutt Cartel had become so expansive and influential that an entire section of the galaxy was dubbed Hutt Space. Hutt Space had essentially developed its own territorial boundaries and was generally left to itself by the Republic. The capital of Hutt Space, and by extension the Hutt Cartel, was the planet of Nal Hutta, the homeworld of the Hutt species. During the Galactic Civil War, the Hutt Council was killed by Darth Vader, save for Jabba. This left Jabba as the sole leader of the Hutt Cartel, until his death soon after. This threw the Hutt Cartel into chaos, as they had no defined leadership, causing all of its members to try to hold on to what little power they had individually. Black Sun was another criminal organization that had been around since at least the Clone Wars. The Syndicate was primarily made up of and led by the Faline species, and had been headquartered on the planet Mustafar, though they had bases and hideouts on other planets throughout the galaxy as well. During the Clone Wars, Black Sun had seen a huge change in management when they encountered Maul, who had returned to the underworld to unite several criminal factions in an attempt to build an army to fight Darth Sidious, his former master. The organization had once been run by a ruling council, similar to the Hutt Cartel, but after their experience with Maul, they were reduced to singular leadership. Zeton Maj led the Black Sun for an undetermined amount of time, but recently Prince Shisor was mentioned in the Crimson Reign comics as the leader during the Galactic Civil War. The Pyke Syndicate has appeared several times recently. They first appeared in the Clone Wars TV show, but made their first live-action debut in Solo: A Star Wars Story. The Syndicate was made up of the Pyke species, as the name also suggests, and was based off of the planet Obadiah, which was located just outside of the maelstrom that surrounded the planet Kessel. This proximity to Kessel allowed the Pyke Syndicate to maintain control over the spice trade that came from Kessel, which that alone gave the Pykes enough of an influence over the galaxy. Through this venture, the Pykes came to become involved in everything spice-related in the galaxy, and had established bases and holdouts on several planets, including Tatooine. Crimson Dawn is a name that likely sounds very familiar to you. They were first introduced in Solo: A Star Wars Story, where it was revealed that they were secretly led by Maul. It's a little unknown for certain when the organization was formed, as some evidence suggests that they were around even before the Clone Wars, but the name kinda implies that it was formed by Maul. Regardless, Crimson Dawn was involved in a lot of criminal activity and had developed a very scary reputation. They were first publicly led by Dryden Voss, but after he died, his lieutenant, Kira, took his place. Crimson Dawn was especially worrying because they had agents everywhere, including within the Empire. After Maul had been disposed of, Kira was left in complete control of the organization, and made it her goal to take down the Empire by manipulating the underworld of the galaxy into a war. Finally, we have the Crymorah Syndicate. Not much is known about them other than the fact that they were extremely ruthless and not to be crossed. They had assisted the Empire on a number of occasions, but at some point, shortly after the first Death Star was destroyed, the Crymorah were targeted by the Empire and were dealt a serious blow. They came back from that, however, as by the time that the second Death Star was destroyed, they had regained most of their power. Eventually, all 5 of these syndicates were either destroyed, disbanded, or just lost all of their power. The Pyke Syndicate was still around about a decade into the era of the New Republic, albeit severely weakened. The same could be said about Crimson Dawn and Black Sun. The Hutt Cartel never recovered fully after losing the entirety of the Council and had fallen victim to infighting. This, in turn, led to all of the people that the Hutts had enslaved to easily revolt and free themselves from the clutches of the Hutt Cartel. One such group of people came from the planet Nar Kanji, who eventually created their own criminal group, called Kanji Club. Other criminal organizations that eventually became considered the most powerful in the galaxy after the Empire was defeated were the Guavian Death Gang, Santul Pride, the Droid Gotra, and the Red Key Raiders. These 5 criminal organizations were considered the new 5 syndicates, according to the Smuggler's Guide reference book.